People are always saying to me, Jimmy, why do you always stir the pot? Why do you come up with the most off-the-wall things to talk about? Why do you have to say some of the things you say? Some of the things you talk about, it's not even relevant. Why do you say what you say? So you know what I did? I went out and I got my own platform because here on this show, it's all relevant. Hello and welcome to the show, the podcast, episode 7 of It's All Relevant. The podcast talking about all things relevant in the world today, also sprinkling in some local news, personal stuff as well. So today's Monday. Happy President's Day to you. My son and I are up in Granville, Ohio at Denison University, looking at possibly having this be his football home. Making sure it's a good fit academically, athletically, making sure it's a good location, a safe location. So we're going to check out Denison here in just a little bit, meet the football staff, and talk about his future maybe at Denison University. So we're looking forward to a great day. It's cold though. It's rainy. Temps are in the mid-teens right now, with the high in the low 20s, so not ideal for Jimmy to be walking around a college campus, but we're going to do it and see what Denison University is all about. Well, I don't know if you caught J.D. Vance's speech the other day to the European Union. I loved this speech. I loved J.D. Vance's demeanor while he gave this speech. Quick pause real quick. Every time I hear the word European, I'm reminded of this joke I heard when I was in elementary school. And it goes like this. If you're a Russian when you go into the bathroom, and you're an American when you come out of the bathroom, what are you while you're in the bathroom? European. Yes, that's a dad joke, and I tell them often. But J.D. Vance spoke to the European Union last week, and the speech may have been one of the best speeches I have ever personally heard. Now, obviously, I'm not sure it's on par with the Gettysburg Address, but I wasn't at Gettysburg when Abraham Lincoln gave that address. And I didn't hear anything live and in person from Winston Churchill. But it was awesome nonetheless. And I got to say, it's good to have a vice president again. It's good to have someone that can represent the world, represent America on the world stage. And I know President Trump will do this, and I know he has done this. But President Trump is so polarizing that I don't know that he is received well when he goes into these foreign countries. And that's fine. His job is to take care of the United States. And I think he does a good job at that. All right. No, he wasn't my ideal candidate. And no, he's not probably morally a good person. But given the choice between him and Kamala Harris, I voted for President Trump because I wasn't electing a pastor. I was electing a president. But it's good to have a vice president, again, that can represent the United States on these type of trips. I mean, for the last 4 years, you got to remember, we had the cackling clown show that was Kamala Harris, who couldn't form a sentence, said things that made absolutely no sense, and it was a disaster. Before that, we had a do-nothing, Mike Pence, who I'm still not sure anything that he did while he was vice president. I can't think of one thing that Mike Pence did while he was vice president. I can't think of anything. And then for the 8 years prior to Mike Pence being president, we had Sleepy Joe Biden. And 8 years prior to that, we had the warmonger, rhino, sometimes liberal Dick Cheney. So we haven't had a vice president, in over 20 years now. We haven't had a vice president that was any good for our country. So it's great to have a vice president get up on stage and not embarrass the United States, not apologize for the United States, didn't tell the world how sorry we are to be the United States, and how sorry we are to have the greatest country in the world, and how sorry we are to have the strongest military, and how sorry we are to be one of the richest nations, and how sorry we are to have been blessed the way we have been blessed. It's good to have a man not get up there and do that. But instead, he looks these European countries in their face and he tells them, listen, you guys are turning your back on democracy. You guys were once very proud, democratically elected people, and now you're turning your back on democracy. And you're turning your back on free speech. And you're beginning to criminalize free speech. And you should have seen their faces if you didn't. While he's up there speaking, you should have seen their faces. They were mad, they were upset, they were all kinds of things. And their only response to J.D. Vance saying, listen, you guys are criminalizing free speech. You're banning free speech. You don't like free speech. Their only response to that was saying that the speech that J.D. Vance was uncalled for. Really? Thank you for proving his point. Thank you for realizing that what he is saying is absolutely true, because the first thing you say when he gets done with his speech is that speech was uncalled for. Of course it was. It talked about freedom of speech. It talked about democracy. It talked about the things you used to be for, and now you're not anymore. So what has happened? What has happened to Europe? What's happened to these great countries over there? What's happened to Great Britain? Where now it's illegal to stand still on a sidewalk, out of the way, not impeding traffic, not stopping anybody, not doing anything other than standing there and silently praying. What happened to you, Britain? Why would you care if someone's standing out of the way, not stopping the flow of traffic, not hurting anybody, not yelling, but silently bowing their head, closing their eyes, and praying? That's right. A man was recently arrested in Great Britain for standing to the side and silently praying in front of an abortion clinic. Across the street, on the corner, not hurting anybody, not stopping anybody, not doing anything other than standing still, bowing his head, and praying. When the Gestapo of police confronted the man, they asked what he was doing. The man said, I'm bowing my head to pray. So then they made him tell them, well, what are you praying for? He said, I'm praying for my unborn child, who my wife and I mistakenly aborted years ago. The man was then arrested, taken into custody for silently praying. Are you kidding me, Great Britain? Now listen, I normally don't care anything about what happens in Europe. We haven't cared. Listen, as Americans, we haven't cared what happened with Great Britain since 1776. Since we whooped your tail and sent you back home in 1776, we haven't cared what happens. Now, I know that all the ladies get up in arms over, when a new king comes in through Great Britain, or when there's people that get married in the royal family. I could care less. As a Marine Corps veteran that defends the United States of America, I don't care what happens in Britain. But it is a tragedy, Great Britain, that you are allowing people to silently pray and you're arresting them. What are we, the thought police now? Are we going to govern what people can think and what they can't think? That's ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. There's many more examples of this happening in Europe. They've also been very accepting of Muslim refugees. And now they're being overran and their culture is being changed into Islamic rule and Sharia law. I mean, there's gigantic protest of Muslims in the streets of European countries, taking over these countries. Sweden. Goodness gracious, Sweden. Scotland. You guys are not Ireland. You are not the countries you used to be. Because now you have taken in, you fell for the line, you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, that these Muslims had to have a place to go because they're refugees, even though they're all 18 to 25-year-old military men. You fell for it, and now your country's being overran by people who wants to institute Islamic culture and Sharia law. It was just really, really good to see our vice president have the huevos to get out in front of the European Union and lay the smack down on their sorry rear ends. My favorite line from his speech was this. He says, "There's a new sheriff in town." Oh, I loved that. It was like the ultimate mic drop. It was awesome to see the leaders, especially the face of the French leader, Macron. He just looked so mad, so dismayed. I loved seeing that. Sorry, Macron, there's a new sheriff in town. His name's Donald Trump, and his deputy, J.D. Vance. And we're going to do things a little bit different than we've ever done them before. And you're going to realize that you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Well, Trump is wanting to end the Department of Education. And I got to tell you, I didn't know about this to start with. When I first heard this, I was like, is it one of those petty things he's doing? Is it one of those petty things like, renaming the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America? And I told you guys I could take that or leave that. Is it one of those petty things like, taking over Gaza? I don't know how I feel about that yet. I don't know that America has any business being involved in what happens in Gaza. We should just support Israel and do what they think is best for Gaza. So I don't know about that. So when I first heard about him wanting to do away with the Department of Education, I was like, really? Really? But then after seeing this, I'm not sure that I blame him. Because it's coming out that we spend more on education and get less back than a lot of countries in the world. With what we spend on education, we should be far and away above everybody else in education. But we're not even in the top 3. We spend billions and trillions more than any other country in the world on education, and we're not even in the top 3. So something has to change. I agree. The Department of Education is broken. Something has to be fixed there. So it almost makes sense just to tear it down. Tear the entire Department of Education down. Get rid of it. Send education back where it belongs to be, where it's supposed to be, and that's at the state and local level. That's where education needs to be. That's where decisions need to be made, because really, an education that works where I live at in North Carolina probably won't work in an inner city of Los Angeles or New York or Chicago. There's different cultures, there's different people, the kids are different. So education needs to be at the state and local level and not at the federal level. The list of the highest taxes in the country has just been released, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you who's in charge of the top 10 highest taxed cities in the country. I mean, you can probably know my past and know my history and know that I'm very, very, very conservative. That puts me outside of the Republican Party. You got to understand that, because the Republican Party, by and large, they're moderately conservative. I would call myself ultra conservative. I am for God and country, in that order. God first, country second. So when I tell you that the top 10 cities that charge the most taxes are ran by liberals, you probably already know that. But here it is. We'll go from 10 to 1. The 10th city that charges the highest taxes, Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado is number 10. Number 9, Long Beach, California. Number 8, Los Angeles, California. Number 7, Seattle, Washington. Number 6, San Diego, California. Number 5, Washington, D.C. Number 4, Boston, Massachusetts. Number 3, San Jose, California. Number 2, San Francisco, California. And number 1, New York City. Of those top 10, 5 of them are cities inside of the liberal-run state of California. So California refuses to feed their reservoirs, causing massive fires in California. They refuse to do anything about the homelessness crisis in California. They refuse to do anything about the illegal immigration crisis that is rampant in California. They refuse to do anything about the drugs that are pouring over the border into California. They refuse to do anything about the unending sea of sex trafficking that comes through the borders of California. They refuse to do anything about the crime and the trash and the nastiness that fills California cities. And then on top of that, 5 of the top 10 California cities are taxing more than any other places in the country. Listen, Californians, when are you guys going to figure out that maybe we should do something different in the state of California? So why live in these places? Why live in these cities? Why pay the taxes that these cities are demanding? And why do we still elect liberal, woke leaders that are determined to rob you of your hard-working money? The money that you earn. At some point, you have got to ask if liberalism is a mental disease. At some point, you've got to ask this. There's got to be something mentally wrong if you continue to elect people who are going to tax you to death, that are going to care more about illegals than they do citizens, that are going to continue to give your tax dollars to stupid and wasteful things. At some point, you've got to ask yourself why we continue to elect leaders that let drugs and sex trafficking and child trafficking pour in through our borders. At some point, we're going to have to ask ourselves why we continue to elect people who allow the homelessness and the trash and these things fill our cities. Why do you do that? Because you can't answer me. I'm going to say that to be ultra liberal like that, there's got to be some kind of mental disconnect with common sense and reality. Now listen, I've got liberal friends, and I think that they're good people, but I've got to ask them why. Why continue to do this? Do you like being robbed? Do you like living in cities that look like war zones and trash heaps? Do you like driving downtown and seeing homeless people defecating and urinating all over the place? What is it about living in places that your kids aren't safe in that you like? What is it about staying and putting up with that? And what is it about fleeing those areas only to move to conservative places, safe places, prosperous places, and then voting for the things that you just ran from? What is it about doing that? It is a crazy, crazy world in which we live, with a crazy number of people continuing to vote for crazy policies in crazy places. Liberal friends, if you listen to this, you know that I love you. You know that we're friends. You know that you could call me any time of the day and I would do anything for you without hesitation. So why don't you drop something in the comments on this episode? Drop something in the comments and tell me why you guys continue to vote for policies that make it unsafe for our children, unsafe for our women. You continue to vote for policies that make your cities look like trash, that allow rampant homelessness, where at any given time you can be walking through a homelessness at any given time and see someone just defecating on the sidewalk, urinating on the building next to you. You have your wife and your kids with you. You have your family with you. You're being taxed to no end. Why do you continue to vote for stuff like this? Would you answer that question seriously? If you can seriously answer that question, just drop a comment. Drop something in the comments and tell me. I want to know. There's a sad story coming out of Tennessee right now about a missing teenage girl. Authorities in Murfreesboro, Tennessee are searching for a teenager who was last seen days ago at a basketball game at Middle Tennessee State University. According to Middle Tennessee State University Police, 17-year-old Jakaya Alsup left a basketball game at the Murphy Center on Saturday, February the 8th. She was last seen wearing a black track jacket, brown leggings, gray shoes, glasses, a silver necklace, and a brown wristlet. Middle Tennessee State Police describe Alsup as 5'2" tall, 110 pounds, adding that she has been entered into the National Crime Information Center, the NCIC, as a missing person. If you have any questions about Alsup's whereabouts or any information to give about where she may be, you are asked to call Detective Sergeant Trevor Cheney at 615-904-8464. Lord, please protect this young lady. Help her to be found safe and okay, and get her reunited with her family. Well, Doge is at it again. The Department of Government Efficiency has found that the Biden administration misplaced $1.9 trillion. How do you misplace $2 trillion. It's not like you lose your wallet. It's not like the dryer ate a $5 bill. I mean, we're talking about $2 trillion. Where'd it go? Where is it? Whose pocket is that $2 trillion in right now? Whose pocket? Liberal senators? That's my guess. I don't have any proof of that. But if I had to guess where that money is, I would say it's in the pockets of people that make $180,000, $200,000 a year and are yet worth $92, $95, $100 million. That money's going somewhere. Where did it go? Tulsi Gabbard is your new Director of National Intelligence, and RFK Jr. is your new Secretary of Health and Human Services. And crunchy moms all over America are here for it, as RFK Jr. has promised to make America healthy again. The only major person who needs to be appointed still is FBI Director Kash Patel, which looks like that won't happen until this coming Tuesday. So we want Trump's cabinet to be appointed, and the Republican leader of the Senate, Thune, says, well, we're not gonna take care of that Friday. Let's just go ahead and have a 4-day weekend, senators. Just take a 4-day weekend and, rest and relax while the American people wait for the confirmation of Kash Patel. Hey, Senator Thune, don't you think it would be a good idea to have some direction at the FBI? To the point where you should have stayed in Washington, D.C. on Friday and got that confirmation done instead of giving senators a 4-day weekend. Nobody else gets a 4-day weekend in America, but senators do, even though we need the leader for the FBI. Appreciate that, Thune, you walking rhino. Goodness gracious. I'm so upset over the Tar Heel season that everything is making me mad right now. I got this lady at church. She's always asking me, are you mad? Now, it's a joke between me and her. And I always answer it the way that David Banner answered it with the Hulk. I said, my secret is I'm always mad. And right now, the thing that's got me mad is the North Carolina Tar Heels. My goodness, what an epic disaster they are. And I told you on the last episode, it's gotten to where it's laughable because that's all I can do is laugh at it. But that's all the sports we're going to talk about. And all the ladies say amen. Well, our Bible verse of the day is 1 John chapter 4, verse 21. The Bible says this, and this commandment we have from him, that he who loveth God loves his brother also. This commandment we have from him. Who? From God. That if you love God, you're going to love other people too. So here's a couple quick stories before we close out today about being loving to your neighbors. One cafe named Stevie's Backroad in Massachusetts has been offering people the chance to give a little love to their neighbors. When COVID-19 hit, owner Stevie Dimbro found his business disappeared overnight. He had an excess amount of food left in his freezer, so he chose to make the best out of a tight situation. A new program called Feed Your Neighbor was instituted where people could pay $5 to order a meal for themselves and others. I come from the inner city projects, Dimbrio explained. I know what it's like to not have a meal, and I know what it's like not to eat. And then to have something like COVID like this happen, it's a tough situation for a lot of people. 6 weeks after his idea, Dimbro's Cafe now has a whole wall with over 100 donated meal tickets at any time for people to walk in and grab a free dinner. People often walk in and buy multiple meals for others to use later. One anonymous donor even gave $500 in their first few weeks. Denbrough has been overwhelmed with the support, but very thankful. He's recently hired more people to help with donations, as a good chunk of the meals are now going to shelters, churches, and neighbors in need. There's a lot of proud people out there. People who don't want to say that they're struggling. The best thing you can do for them is be a friend and help them with a meal. I got inspired by this earlier this week. During a family text conversation, I could tell that my sister-in-law was pretty wound up. She's got a very busy lifestyle. She's a substitute teacher, and probably the kids at her school were, putting her on edge and stressing her out. So I sent her an gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. Told her to have a coffee, have a donut on me, and a good day. And she might have gotten the gift card, but I feel like I got the blessing. And that whole tone of that conversation on that text thread was changed by a simple act of kindness. And I don't tell you that to toot my own horn. I tell you that to say, do something nice for somebody. Our second story, one day, Brendan, a young but rising DJ in New York, was coming home to his Brooklyn apartment when a homeless woman asked him for money. He said, "Honestly, ma'am, I don't have any money." By the end of the week, she had asked him 2 more times, and each time he answered, "I don't have any money." Finally, she replied one day, "Don't give me any money, because if you do, it won't be like every other day." Inserting some rational thinking into an otherwise awkward conversation, he proposed, "Look, I'm on my way to get a job interview. If I get the job, me and you will go out for Chinese food." This promise yielded a friendship that neither were prepared for. That changed the trajectory of both of their lives. Both forwards toward each other. Brendan got the job, but their relationship didn't end after the Chinese food. They built a friendship of mutual support, spending their birthdays, holidays, and tough times together over the next 8 years. When Brendan's heater broke, she made him a blanket. 2 days later, when he told her that he had lost his job, she disappeared, only to return a little bit later with a bag of groceries. And which continued to happen throughout the winter. Even with so little, she never hesitated to give back. Over these years, their relationship continued to grow. Jackie moved from the streets of subway stations into a halfway house, then to a YMCA, and is now moving into an apartment. To celebrate this occasion, Brendan wanted to do something special for Jackie. He went with her to Target and helped her pick out everything she'd need for an apartment, even starting a registry for her. Then he set up a campaign to raise the money to pay for the things that she needed, along with an awesome video telling their story. While their original goal was to raise $500, the campaign went viral, and they raised more than $6,000, and are now looking to use the extra funding to support other women in need. Brendan isn't just a good person. He isn't even a Christian, and this isn't about out-Jesusing each other. It's not even a challenge to only Christians, but to everyone who struggles with the desire to be a stakeholder in their community, yet are overwhelmed by the reality of living out that desire. Be kind to people. Help when you can. Offer encouragement in a very cold and calloused world. Well, our son has been recruited by a fitness outfit, by a fitness company to promote their products. And they're going to be giving him these products to wear and to promote and try to get some business by him promoting this. And so if you want to help him with that, you can go to DimeFit, that's DimeFitt.com, DimeFit, and purchase any items there and use the code capital C, capital Q, capital KICKER. That's CQ Kicker, and that will help him in this venture of promoting this product. Well, I hope to see you, or hope to hear from you, hope to see comments, hope to see things on our email, iarelevant@gmail.com. That's iarelevant@gmail.com. We always want to hear from you. We always want to see your comments. Even if you disagree with me, that's fine. Like we talked about last episode, I'm not going to cancel you. We can have good discussions and be good friends and not agree. We can just agree that we're going to disagree, and we can move on, and we can still be friends, and that's fine, and that's what we should do. Well, I hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good Monday, good Tuesday, good Wednesday, and we'll see you Thursday on another episode of It's All Relevant.